Amateur drivers can drive in a straight line, that's cake. Advanced drivers get good at the corners, but the true legends find their own course. When you believe in something, how bold are you to stand for it?
Who's that?
He's new. Some German.
Austrian. He's been here since 5 a.m. walking the track. You might actually have to concentrate today, James.
Niki Lauda's family was a business family. Their name was known for one thing, money. And Niki's family thought racing was stupid. Low thing of no value, just a money pit. But Niki loved racing, and his family despised him for it. All except one, his granny, who actually bought him a Beetle. And as soon as Niki got his Beetle, he started modding it. He got into hill climbing, and then Niki, with the help of his granny, again, got himself a Mini. And those days, they were actual real Minis, not the scams of today. And Niki was successful in hill climbing. I mean, bang on master of the uphill toge. I'm not sure if he also did downhill or not. Since it was hill climbing, his right foot was quite disciplined and he had an amazing feel. Niki went into Formula VE, Formula 3 and Formula 2. But you see, as much as Niki was part of a business family, relatively rich, I mean using money as toilet paper, Niki still didn't have all the money for racing. His whole family, well, all except his granny, wouldn't lift a finger to help him. Niki had to find his own way. Niki's granddad even tried to get in the way of sponsors. One time he actually terminated a very good deal. And Niki's family, despising him for getting into racing, only motivated him more. This time it wasn't just for the thrill, it was also self-preservation. He was given a mission to humble his fam. When Niki found his path and wanted to get seriously big about racing, on the path to Formula 1, he knew it was going to be hard to do it on his own. And so what did he do? He asked one more time, trying to bring sense and reason into it.
Niemals. Rennfahren ist was für Playboys und Dilettanten. Ahnungslose Amateure und Dummköpfe. Den Namen Lauda findet man neben Politikern und Ökonomen vorne auf den Titelseiten.
Wenn ich nichts anderes kann?
Ja, aber dann brauchst du ja mein Geld erst recht. Also tust, was ich dir sag und folgst mir in die Firma.
Gut. Behalt dein Geld. Investier nicht in mich. Aber wenn ich Weltmeister bin und auf dem Stockerl stehe und mein Name nicht ganz hinten in der Zeitung steht, sondern auf dem Cover, dann wirst du das bereuen.
Raus! Und lass dich hier nie wieder blicken!
So if my family wasn't going to help me, I decided to risk everything and take out a loan myself. I found a Formula 1 team with an okay car and an owner who had run out of money and was willing to accept my terms.
Niki took quite big risks and gambles moving up the ranks in racing. One to mention is a loan he took in Formula 2, 30,000 euros. Look, in that time it was a lot. He used it to get a little more comfortable in Formula 2 and actually make it, leaving whether he gets noticed and bought or thrown into huge financial trouble, all up to his own sheer driving. But this was not rash. He made this decision after careful planning. Niki Lauda is one of the most analytical people that the earth has been gifted with, and to put a healthy, purposely self-induced heavy pressure on him to deliver with only one thing to focus on, while it worked, it actually made it easier, and he did it. He had overall good performance, he did what he needed to do, delivered when it matters, delivered especially to someone whose nickname became Hunt the Shunt. Yes, by these days before Formula 1, Niki met his life rival that would turn out to be far more important than just an opponent. Few seasons in Formula 2 until getting into Formula 1. We can talk for 2-3 hours about his whole career before Formula 1, but I know that you're for Formula 1, and actually so am I. So let's jump right in. Niki had a race in Formula 1 in 1971, driving for some team called March, one of the worst teams of all time. It was at the Austrian Grand Prix, his home Grand Prix, and he DNF'd. 1992, Niki raced full time in Formula 1 in the sense that he took part in all of the races, but he was still competing in Formula 2. There was still business he needed to accomplish there, and he got successful. But in Formula 1, the season starts with the Argentinian Grand Prix, and Niki finished 2 laps down in 11th place. South African Grand Prix in Kailami, well, Niki beating Jackie X behind Graham Hill finished just 1 place short of scoring points in this age where the points start at 6th place, not 10th. So it was a good result. Also considering there were more cars on the grid and more DNFs. Spanish Grand Prix comes 7 laps and Niki has a DNF. After the Spanish Grand Prix, we come to Monte Carlo and the rain comes down hard. What happened to Niki Lauda? Lap 6 times.
How many?
Lapped 6 times.
It was racism.
Really?
And finished in 16th place. And it didn't get much better. In Belgium, Niki finished 12th, 3 laps down. Look, the car was bad. Niki scored 0 points for the whole season. So on a platform where you see the championship rankings, Niki isn't even there. It's like he didn't participate. Although he was officially in the Formula 1 season, in the championship, he was fighting his own car. If Niki was gonna make this work, he needed a car that could go faster than a snail and cross the finish line. So in 73, Niki did something revolutionary. He got a sponsor that would turn out to be one of the most important in the Formula 1. He got the infamous Marlboro sponsor and joined BRM. This was the year that it was going to be more in F1 and less in F2. So how did the 1973 season go? Argentina, Niki gets a DNF. Then we come to Brazil, and Niki gets a much more respectable 8th place finish. South African Grand Prix, things look grim. He gets a DNF again. Spain is also a DNF. The BRM was just unreliable. This wasn't its time. But then, for the Belgium Grand Prix, Niki pulled out a 5th place finish, getting his first points. 2 points. Yeah, with 2 points. Thing to mention, Niki was a master since his young years at tuning cars because he had such an innate feel, extremely sensitive to all feedback, and he had a very peculiar demand for a rightly tuned car suiting his driving style. And he didn't care about messing up cars. If modifying would spoil the car, well, he would do it because he knew what he wanted and he wasn't ashamed. He made his own car for his own course, and so he also got a lot of experience in tuning with his Beetle and his Mini. All of this together, while in Formula 1 he knew how to set up a car, and he did not settle for anything other than the optimal performance he wanted, a well-rounded, good handling car. And he didn't hold back anything that might be hard to hear. What I mean is, he would call a soapbox. If you were wondering, that's actually the more kosher word. But he didn't do this because he wanted to insult. Everyone understood it was for progress, what the team also wanted. They knew this because on track he also delivered. Some of it was taken the right way, and to some others,
are you ever not an asshole?
oh yeah, he will come later. Don't jump the gun. Let's stay on track. No need to cut corners.
Nani?
I said no need to cut corners. Pay attention, Max. Hahaha. Joking, love you, bro. BRM was not forming good, as we know. It was terrible. But now it looked like they were slowly making some progress. They were heading somewhere. Niki was the difference. But there was a problem. Things were looking a little grim. It is really expensive to race with BRM. Even with Marlboro, as much as they were making progress, it just wasn't enough. So coming to the next race, a lot would be riding on this. And now we come to Monaco. This would be the defining race that made his life. Niki Lauda starts 6th on the grid. That should already put a grin on your face. He made a strong start, and by lap 24, he was on the podium, 3rd place, but then immediately had gearbox failure. Wow, BRM, progress. But in the time he had to race, he did what he needed to do. He delivered. He showed incredible racecraft, maturity, and technique. This race redefined what it means to deliver when it matters. Cause Niki immediately caught the eye of someone very special. A big name, Enzo Ferrari. But there was a problem. Niki had debts, a lot of debts to pay off to BRM. But then Enzo was like, screw that, I'll pay for it. You come into Ferrari Scuderia. Niki might have finished in a low 17th place in the championship, but this is the same way Ayrton Senna made his mark in 1984 Monaco. Same track, look at that. We know what Monaco is for a driver. It's not a sunshiny, easy circuit for car enthusiasts. It is the playground for the Firebird. And this is where he delivered, not just in qualifying, but in the race, where you have to go side by side on awkward corners with so little space if you actually want to win. Yeah, Charles, you gotta make the move. And you know what? To be honest, I am so glad Monaco is such a greedy money hole. Because it means it will never be off the Formula 1 calendar. Monaco will stay forever. Because it is meant to. People who hate Monaco are not true drivers. The end. And it is the same with Imola. In fact, I think the war of the greatest Formula 1 track right now is between Monaco, Singapore, and San Marino Imola the Beautiful. Back to 1974. Ferrari was on the back foot again. They didn't win a championship since John Surtees won it in the 60s. And this time, well, we're in the 70s now. Okay, to be fair, Ferrari did win Constructors' Championship in 1970, but then they took a back seat in lack of progress and performance maintenance. Every team that ended up on the front rows, such as Lotus, Tyrrell, and McLaren, well, they were using a monocoque chassis. And so Enzo Ferrari would be Enzo Ferrari with his classic saying, aerodynamics are for people who can't build fast engines, which you would apply to this about the chassis, using a tubular space frame chassis. Except Ferrari couldn't. He had to swallow his words, because he was clearly outclassed in every way. Not just in speed, but also reliability. 1973 was really bad. So bad their car was that they even withdrew from some races, such as the Dutch and German Grand Prix, to save face. Ferrari, think about that. And as you might imagine, Niki Lauda was not prepared to drive a soapbox and leave everything as it is. So in 1994, for winter testing, Niki's first test drive with Ferrari, well,
It's terrible. Drives like a pig.
Oh, you can't say that.
Why not?
It's a Ferrari.
It's a shitbox. It understeers like crazy and the weight distribution is a disaster. It's amazing. All these facilities and you make a piece of crap like this.
But you see, Niki could say this because his lifestyle was an honest, no BS, forensic, analytical lifestyle. He knew his limits and he was honest with himself. What he wanted was progress. The words he spoke were not to offend. It was to lead the team for the winning possibility they didn't have. Ferrari couldn't help themselves. They were self-paralyzed in a slimy slump. Sound familiar?
In China, I got out of the way when you're on a different strategy.
Understood. We swapped the cars.
Have a tea break while you're at it. Come on.
You know what makes this even worse? Guess what's the color of Niki Lauda's racing suit?
Nani?
Yeah, blue. Although Enzo and the engineers were butthurt by what Niki said, Enzo saw it in Niki and chose to listen to him. And they were rewarded. Niki practically took Ferrari on his wings. This one young driver was showing Enzo how to lead a team. When testing, Niki gave precise, detailed feedback on the car's handling, and he was covering details not many other people would. They worked on the car according to his feedback. Niki Lauda was the leader of Ferrari, and this was the magic season break that would change Ferrari forever. Because Niki wasn't just the leader off track. Season first race, Niki Lauda finishes on the podium, second place. What did you do to that Ferrari, Niki? Oh, and yeah, Niki Lauda has a teammate, Clay Regazzoni. Yeah, these two work together, and Niki showed that he was clearly much better at setting up the car. And as you shall see, he also showed the same thing in his driving. And old man Clay wasn't offended at all. His moustache kept him secure.
You know, are you ever not an asshole?
Before we go any further, we're gonna take a good look and analysis of something important. Niki Lauda's driving technique. First, let's acknowledge the car you drove. First of all, it is a mid-rear engined rear-wheel drive trans-axle Formula 1. And most of the time, it was front grip bias, meaning sticky front end and oversteery rear end. Niki always preferred front bias grip. Niki approaching a corner would brake relatively early. Coming near turning, he would make faint smooth turn in while deaccelerating. Then he turned in more for the corner, and throughout the first few moments of turn in, the deceleration would shift the center of balance forward and the wheel speed ratio would be lifted throughout the whole trail brake. And due to the deceleration and turn in with the lifted wheel speed ratio, the transaxle's inertia would push against the engine at the outside offset angle, helping yaw rotate it, laterally deforming the rear tires to a higher level until opening the throttle very smoothly and relatively early, sometimes even before the apex. During a chicane especially, you'd open the throttle quite early. Before the change of direction for the second part of the chicane, he'd be opening the throttle to recenter the inertia of the transaxle. At Bassa Variante at Monza, he's opening the throttle before he even turns in. And the opening of the throttle does transfer the weight rearward, but Niki is extremely smooth on the throttle, so though there is weight transfer, it's not so aggressive that it destabilizes the car, stealing weight off the front end. Sometimes he would induce very fine, refined, smooth slip angle at the rear end, leaning more towards grip to accelerate out of a corner fast enough without losing rotation. Super smooth, slow in, fast out. But what really stands out is Niki's way of driving. How he put his intelligence with his technique and insane feel. Niki drove by gears. Yes, I know all drivers have strategy, when to push and when not to push, when to conserve tires and all, but Niki trained himself to be more disciplined with time, exercising his internal clock to quite a high and accurate level. He mastered driving at slow speed, refining his driving into a clinical weapon of nearly inhumane consistency. And by this, he got to know the car and got used to speed, high speed, low speed, all speed, and so he has an extra gear he can shift into that he appears to be more comfortable in than other drivers. And by this also came side effects, cruising speed being higher to start with due to a plain better understanding of the car, and due to how he learned to conserve tires with this intelligent racing lifestyle. Knowledge of the limits letting him perfect techniques such as threshold braking, although it wasn't as effective as it is now due to the billion times more downforce in modern Formula 1 cars. But this is just one of the many fruit that shows the deeper meaning of why Niki was so good. Doesn't this all sound familiar? In deep respect, I say. Oscar Piastri reminds me most of one person. That's Niki Lauda. I am wholeheartedly backing him for the 2025 championship. But of course, it took time for Niki to hone his skills to this blisteringly high level. Yet in these early stages of Formula 1, he was already at a good level, and he was delivering.